Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another In the OT podcast for BetHubb Sports Blog.com. My name is Chad. I am your host. You guys have gotten used to my big trap ranting and raving, and that will not change moving forward, especially when a controversial situation happens in the sports world, as it did today as Jim Rome had David Stern on his radio program. And it got extremely heated between the two when he decided to ask him about a potential conspiracy theory of the number one overall pick going to the New Orleans Hornets, which just so happens to be owned by the team this year, which of course can all be related to any of the other conspiracy theories that have been brought up throughout the years under David Stern's rule as a commissioner of this league. And for those of you that have not heard this audio clip, it's absolutely fascinating radio. It's about 4 minutes long. It will be on the website so you guys can have an opportunity to review it and sort of understand what I'm talking about here. Now, I found that both of these individuals here did not handle this situation the best way they could have. In particular, David Stern was a real prick here, showing a complete lack of class. All when he started to come out and say in his response, did you stop beating your wife recently? We all know his little cheeky, sarcastic remark because heaven forbid anybody question the great David Stern that makes $20 million a year and is in charge of the billionaires boy club in the NBA owners, that they would dare have a mouthpiece like Jim Rome step up and think that there could be a conspiracy behind closed doors. He just brushes it off and has to come back with the sarcastic remark, and that is absolute nerve because he has crossed the line making a statement like that. It is completely different when someone questions the morals and ethics of a business versus somebody's own personal life, where the accusations that he would imply towards him would be of that of criminal charges that would be a greater effect on society in terms of someone wanting to beat a wife. You know better than that, David Stern, and that is an absolute pathetic joke that you would go that low with the comment like that. It just drives me nuts. You want to come out here and you want to rip him for questioning you, you want to take a couple of pot shots at him, then so be it. Go ahead and do that, but don't go down that road. Have a little bit more class. I thought David Stern would do that, but he proved today that is not the case. And for Jim Rome here, I do respect the fact that he wanted to bring up this topic, because a lot of radio hosts wouldn't even bother going down that road because they know an old crusty David Stern wouldn't give them the answers they're looking for. He just brush it off. So he did go down that road in terms of addressing it. But if you're going to go to that extent, you might as well go balls to the walls. You might as well be relentless. You might as well never back down, because the way Jim Rome proposed the question wasn't like he was that sold or confident on the conspiracy of it. He almost played it off like, oh, my audience wants to know it. I'm asking on their behalf. No, Rome. If I was in your shoes, it wouldn't be my audience wants to know about it. I personally want to know about it. Don't try to put the blame on somebody else when there might be a controversial question/comment that you're going to get that kind of reaction out of somebody. You've already got the guy on the show. You have enough clout as Jim Rome that he's come back before, and even if he doesn't, it's not like your show's going to lose any sort of luster in terms of being able to bring on high-profile guests. So I don't know what the fear is from that perspective. And if you really don't believe it deep down inside, then why are you asking the question? You're not a puppet for all of the mainstream viewers and listeners, or maybe he is. And if that's the case, and that's a problem right then and there, he's not being real enough with himself. He's trying to portray the image and be a representative of the public who may not even necessarily want the questions asked that way. The bottom line here is, Rome, if you want to come out and you want to know this, then you ask it from the bottom of your heart instead of playing it off on somebody else. And for David Stern, just to go back to him here, what drives me nuts most about all this is, and he'll claim that there's no such proof of this. He'll go on about Michael Jordan. If the first pick was given to him, it's his buddy. If it went to New Jersey because they're going to New York and they need the market in Brooklyn. If it went to Cleveland, they're paying back Dan Gilbert. Blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. And I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with David Stern. I happen to believe that there was no conspiracy for the first overall pick this year, because at the end of the day here, you could make an argument for any one of those teams that were at the top of the lottery list. And if you really wanted to cook things and have a conspiracy, I think it would be a little bit more planned out than that, and maybe not so obvious to the naked eye. And what drives me nuts is the fact that he brushes it off like there's nothing that's ever gone wrong in the sport that's been questionable. And that's where I think the real conspiracies are. What about Tim Donaghy and all those games that were cooked? What about in particular in the early 2000s when the Sacramento Kings had a 3-2 series lead on the Lakers, and NBC Sports Network got involved and demanded that they win that game, the Lakers, so there'd be Game 7, they'd have a greater chance at home and advance to the finals because they wanted the ratings. And why is it that all of a sudden in that fourth quarter of Game 6 when they were trailing, they were given 25 free throws? Those are the type of things that I think the real conspiracies need to be questioned. So for him to think that it's crazy for a talk show host to ask these questions, he's just out of his mind, David Stern. You've got to realize that you're a very high-profile person. Your league does not have the best reputation in terms of the way it's ran, and you've got to swallow the pill and suck it up. Give some answers instead of being a little bitch and running away from it and trying to flip it on him. I understand that he has his nice little law degree and he's good at, trying to manipulate people's brains, but as a talk show host, you have to know that going in, and Jim Rome is generally prepared and knows this kind of stuff. I just don't know why he decided to go all passive on him. At the end, it got sort of wishy-washy. I didn't care for the last 2 minutes of the interview. It was just like, oh, you said this, I'm offended, no, you're not, enough with that. But the one funny thing, and I will give it to David Stern at the end, is I've got somebody better to go to talk to, Stephen A. Smith. At least take a little shot at Rome on the way out in terms of which insider he wants to talk to. So that's the way I see it all breaking down there. Nonetheless, it does provide a couple minutes of entertainment for the sports fan on a topic that's always been highly debated. You guys have got my 2 cents on everything today of what has occurred. Once again, Chad here, another In the OT podcast, BetHubbSportsBlog.com.